Right. Nice. I really need to invest in some like we're getting ready music, but thank you for everyone that's coming in. We are recording this so that people can watch it afterwards. My name is Amy Toner. I'm the executive director of the NATSO Foundation, and one of my many roles is bringing the education to NATSO members and potential members into the industry so they can know what's happening. And this is totally perfect for us. It's cutting edge, and I think it's really exciting. And it's through a partnership with NAMA. Before I hand it over to Eric, I just want to remind people that you are muted. You can drop your questions into the Q&A at any time, and we'll answer them at the end. And I think that's it. Now, Eric is the Senior Manager of Education at NAMA, and it's my pleasure to turn over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Amy. Good afternoon or morning to any West Coasters, and thank you for joining us today. As Amy said, my name is Eric Larson. I'm Senior Manager of Education at the National Automatic Merchandising Association, or NAMA for short, and I'm joined today by Fabian Campos, Business Development Executive at InReach. And today we're both here to talk to you about the convenience services industry and the effect that partnering with a convenience services operator can have on your truck stop or travel center and the guests that you serve. In short, convenience services, in some cases called unattended retail, transforms how one experiences an environment. Because these installations function without the need of an attendant, they offer speed and convenience to minimize any friction that with the tight agendas of your guests and workforce. But if you read the description of this webcast, you already know that. And we're going to go into some detail on the efficiency increasing applications of convenience services to truck stops and travel centers. So let's get a vibe on who's joining us as we get started. If you could in the chat, please let us know if convenience services is a new term to you, if you've looked into it a bit, but you're here to get more info, or perhaps you're already using a convenience services operator, but you want to use what you learned to deepen your relationship with it. And on that note, please also let us know your goals in attending this webcast and what you intend to gain out of it. And that way we'll be sure to address them throughout the presentation. So first of all, let's start at the start for those of you who are new to working with this industry. What is convenience services? I'll tell you a bit about the industry, NAMA itself, and Fabian, a convenience services operator, will tell you a bit about what it's like working at InReach. So the convenience services industry was traditionally called the vending industry, but that title is incomplete because convenience services can take the form of many different types of unattended retailer services. The most popular channels are vending machines, unattended micro markets, office coffee and pantry services, and we'll go into all of these in a bit more detail momentarily, explaining what they are and their relevance to your business. And NAMA is an association whose purpose is to promote and protect the advancement of this industry. And this is done through research, educational programming, networking opportunities, and advocating the industry to political representatives, and hosting live events, including a trade show that attracts over 4,000 professionals from within the industry. Our core members are convenience services operators. Those are the companies that install a machine or market or coffee station at a location, restock the products, manage the transactions, etc. And much like truck stops and travel centers, these operators can range in size from national businesses to mom and pop operations. And NAMA also represents non-operators in the convenience services industry, such as consumable product suppliers, machine manufacturers, and software providers for operators. But really, when it comes down to it, though, the goals of convenience services operators are the same as your own goals. Increase revenue, increase efficiencies, and fulfill the purpose of your business. And everything we're about to discuss is based around this. And the reason why Fabian and I are here today is that both of our industries have the opportunity to fulfill at least one of these goals while supporting each other. Next slide, please, Fabian. Just to give you a bit of context on what Fabian and I experience within the convenience services industry, trading topics in our industry include providing products that guests may hold in high regard, such as prepackaged entree items, functional products, locally roasted coffee brewed in a bean-to-cup machine, and products tied to sustainability, in addition to the classic snacks and beverages one may expect from this kind of thing. And we're also seeing a similar approach in the realm of technology, machines, brewers, and installations that can tie to a quality atmosphere and engage your guests. In short, this is kind of a cliche within the industry, but worth noting if convenience services is something new to you. It's been a long time since a dusty vending machine in a basement with flat soda represented the industry. Convenience services operators, such as InReach, are moving far away from this image and enhancing both the atmosphere and convenience of an environment. On that note, let's hear from Fabian, who's joining us to add a level of depth and context using his own experience. Fabian, please tell us a bit about yourself, InReach, and your role there.
Yeah, you bet. Eric, thanks so much. I appreciate the great intro. And Amy, thanks for hosting us. It's a pleasure to be here and to speak to this group. So my name is Fabian Campos. I am with InReach. We are the Convenience Solutions Division of Sodexo. So our organization, basically people call us when they are wanting to provide a better convenience solution service or products or setup for their guests. In terms of InReach and how InReach differs from Sodexo, we handle everything that does not require an on-site full-time employee or full kitchen. It is everything to do with convenience solutions. I do have a video I would love to share if I can go ahead and do that. This gives you a super quick summary, and we're going to dive into some of these channels, but to give you an idea of who InReach is, I'd love for you all to see this.
So, what's in our future? The ways we work and learn will continue to evolve. How we connect, engage, and collaborate, they'll change too. And our expectations for the food and drink that fuel us to do great things will shift as well. The future is InReach. InReach is about finding better ways to bring people together, prioritizing wellness without sacrificing taste, and helping guests refresh and recharge, or simply reconnect through quick breaks during the day. InReach delivers creative and scalable food experiences to support your everyday, sharing in a new and exciting era with reimagined micro markets, micro cafes, and stores, and vending concepts supported by digital and touchless technologies for added safety and frictionless experiences. We are redefining what convenience means with an energized team inspired by fresh perspectives, so your teams can feel better, be more productive, and reach higher. It's convenience innovated, because the future is in reach today.
Thanks for letting me play that and share that. I'll share to you. It sounds like an incredibly lofty goal for us to provide this kind of new world of convenience solutions, but it's something that we 100% believe in. We know that the ultimate distinguishing factor here between, as Eric mentioned, the old dusty vending machines and kind of the vending and convenience solutions of the past, that's no longer acceptable. People care about what they want. They care about the environment that they get it in, right place, right product, right time. Those are the types of things we want to bring to the table. So I'll tell you, we're going to dive into these channels, but just so that you can see it, since it's available, on your screen now, here are the main channels that we operate in. Micro markets, and we'll dive into these: pantry, vending, snack boxes, coffee services, coffee and water services, and then smart stores, which we'll touch on here in a bit. Eric?
I am muted, sorry. Thank you very much. So we'll start off with an overview of the major channels of convenience services and their relevance to your business. Then after this, we're going to go into more nuances of what a convenience services operator does behind the scenes and how an operator's unique services can enhance your business beyond what could be achieved if one were to try self-operating. And as we explore this, feel free to type anything that comes to mind in the questions box at the bottom of your screen. We'll address them at the end of the presentation. And as we talk, we'll go through some slides that InReach prepared with some of its own examples that give you a visual on what's being discussed. So now for our first major channel, and we'll start with the classic, vending. You know what it is, you've seen a vending machine before, and you may even use some in your own operation. Vending is what's known as secured unattended retail. In other words, products are behind a locked door in a controlled environment, and your guests can't access their products without first submitting payment. And I know we kind of use this as, the dusty vending machine, but really that's not what it is nowadays. Vending is a channel that has tremendous potential, and we want to ensure it's realized to the fullest extent in your operation. So traditionally, drinks and snacks are sold in vending machines, and these are still the best sellers. But it should be noted that this is not the extent of what a vending machine could hold. For example, some high-quality prepackaged entree items can be sold in vending machines. Some operators even prepare their own fresh foods, while others get their prepackaged entree items from product suppliers. But it's not just food, too. It's non-consumables can be placed in the machine as well, such as electronics. And here's one example of how you can use vending to your advantage in a truck stop or travel center beyond its expected conveniences. Consider using vending for products that are typically kept locked up or behind the counter, such as high dollar items. According to a NAMA show session led by Mars Wrigley titled Productive Partnerships and Macro Trend Mastery, speed is the #1 reason why unattended retail is used. And with their tight schedules, speed is of great importance to your guests too. So here's a scenario that NATSO's very own Darren Schulte brought up at the NAMA show. High dollar items are typically kept locked up behind a counter to prevent shoplifting. If your guests need to purchase something like this, it'd be a time-consuming inconvenience if they had to wait for an attendant, especially when many businesses are so short-staffed in the first place. So to increase the transactional speed for your guests and the availability of your attendants, a secure vending machine can be used for these types of items. The product would be safely locked away, and it removes the extra step of unlocking it before purchase. And this can also apply to government restricted items such as booze or CBD product, as vending machines can be equipped with age verification technology as well. And these are just a few examples of how vending can increase efficiency of transactions at your truck stop or travel center. And Fabian, what else should truck stop and travel center operators know about this channel of service?
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are all great points. I think one of the things that we like to make clear is that we're trying to build an environment that is something that a consumer comes in and they see what they want when they want it. So making sure that you tailor what and your shoppers best, right? Your customers and your consumers best. So shaping what's available there and making it incredibly quick and convenient so that they can get in and get out. They're running on tight schedules. You want them to be able to come in and satisfy these needs. So what you see here is just a variety of images. You have a variety of vending options. You have your traditional vending where, as Eric said, for sure, the drinks and the snacks are still the high price items. But what if you included an espresso style coffee machine or prepackaged meals that could be heated up right there? And it's, think of something similar to when you head into a Starbucks and you get one of their breakfast sandwiches. I don't know if you all are fans. I am. They taste amazing. Those are all pre-cooked. They're cooked elsewhere, assembled on site, heated on site. Imagine having that in a machine where somebody can go up, grab that item, and go. Farmer's Fridge is another great example, a partner that we have where these are healthier selections. Think of wraps, salads in a jar, and then they even have a recycling component. When you're done with that salad, you just stick the jar back in there, and then they take those and recycle them. So those are some to give you an idea. Here's a closer look at Just Baked, another option where you can set that menu again to your audience. So you decide this machine isn't going to have everything, but you'll be able to select and narrow down that menu because you know what your audience likes, and then it's all done and stocked and prepared on site. Stocked, but it's there on site for them to walk up, pick what they want. It's heated, they walk away, and they walk away satisfied and happy with the options. A closer look, here's some of the options in Farmer's Fridge. I can tell you firsthand, I've had a salad, I've had a wrap, and I've had one of the salads in a jar. They're fantastic. And so for you to have this available for folks who are looking for a better option, healthier option, it's a great solution. You can customize these machines as well, whether it be like the Just Baked machines or any of your traditional vending. You can 100% wrap it with your logos and your information or whatever you've set up your store as. We can wrap that so that it looks like it's absolutely just an extension of your site there. Here's another image just to show you in terms of cabinetry. We can build out the cabinetry so that it looks good and is consistent with your layout. And there's all sorts of varieties. For InReach specifically, we have some that are kind of our standard cabinetry that's no cost to you for us to set up. However, if you want to get crazy and put some really cool design behind it, we can certainly do that at an added cost. The last thing I wanted to share was, as far as vending goes, is the smart vending. Eric touched on it a little bit, but now having the opportunity to walk up to a machine, talk to the machine, have healthier options, have some fresh foods in there. This is separate from the just baked or the farmer's fridge. But in this, you would provide a variety of items, maybe even drinks. And the cool thing about this is it's secure, but you can walk up and literally say something like, "Hey, Vicky, show me gluten-free options." The machine, all the products darken in there, and then only the gluten-free items light up. So it's a very cool interactive way to be able to highlight what they're looking for. The other neat thing about it is that the UV technology in here, between each transaction, and when it closes and locks again, it darkens and the UV light comes on to help keep it a safe and clean environment. I'm going to play a video of this real quick, just so you all can see a better idea of what this machine does.
This is Vicky, the world's first auto retail self-checkout solution. Vicky is smart, secure, and customizable. Vicky has the ability to assist customers by answering frequently asked product questions or by guiding them to the right item. The first AI-powered virtual assistant. The more customers shop with Vicky, the more she will learn their preferences and habits to better serve them in the future. Vicky is even smart enough to reward utilizes multiple biometric sensors to control access. Customers or employees can either scan their thumb or iris to gain access and pay for their products. She also accepts credit card and NFC payment, including Apple Pay. Once the door is open, Vicky knows what's going on by tracking product and customer interactions with computer vision and her patented IntelliShelf technology. The use of this technology can help with loss prevention, significantly reducing shrinkage on high theft items. Vicky can be used for any product, custom planograms, remote temperature controls, and multiple shelf sizes afford for products from high-end items like watches and jewelry to cosmetics and food and beverage. Those products truly come to life by adding media that will play when customers pick up or put back an item, or by changing her shelf colors with full and the addition of decals, graphics, and branding. Vicky can go anywhere: airports, office buildings, schools, and even shopping malls. Vicky is managed with a simple-to-use web-based dashboard. Control lighting effects, audio options, temperature settings, media uploads, planogram settings, and more. Choose to add brand new products to the planogram or access the Vicky Global Product Database to add products already associated with facts and media. The dashboard also provides access to rich customer data and all the reports needed to effectively run and optimize your business. Vicky Auto Retail, changing the way consumers shop. Get Vicky now by visiting getvicky.com.
So there's Vicky. It's for me, it's mind blowing of where we've come to in terms of vending. But if this is something that is of interest to you, know that we can absolutely cater these to fit your audience, what you're looking to offer, and providing that security, convenience, that availability. I always talk about the food and drink side of it, but every time I watch this, I'm reminded, like, it literally can be anything. That, I saw the one screen with all the watches and whatnot. Just imagine, for you all as truck stop operators, when people need a charger or need anything related to technology that they have lost or forgotten in their trucks or in their car or whatever, to have that available, and your staff's not having to mess with it. It's all contained in there. It's a great way to to satisfy that need. Derek?
Thank you very much, Fabian. And next, we're going to transition to our next big channel of convenience services, and that is Office Coffee Services, or OCS for short. Now, Office Coffee Services is actually another example of an incomplete term, because these services aren't solely tied to coffee, and they don't have to be located in an office. But in short, OCS is a convenience service, is when a convenience service operator provides beverage product like coffee and tea in fixed quantities, and also provides and maintains its beverage brewing and dispensing equipment. And unlike vending, which is transactional for its guests, office coffee services are traditionally subsidized by the host locations. So in layman's terms, consumers get free coffee, tea, and filtered water because their host company is the one that's actually paying for it. And this kind of thing is called an open environment within the industry, because guests can just freely use the product without any kind of restriction. Now, our understanding is that truck stops and travel centers don't typically give away complimentary hot beverages to their guests. This type of service is more commonly seen in offices and hotels. So if you want to do traditional coffee services for your truck stop or travel center, it's certainly an option. But there are other ways to work with an OCS operator that may best suit your environment too. For example, OCS operators can loan brewers and regularly provide product while your environment still charges for each cup of coffee or tea. And additionally, and this is the important part, they also have the knowledge to properly service, troubleshoot, and program the brewers so they always stay up and running. Bean to cup brewers have been increasing in popularity for quite some time, and they're known for their quality and variety of beverages provided. But as it turns out, they're also the most finicky type of brewer. So if this is something that's what's in demand at your truck stop or travel station, and your operator can provide it, you would need a professional to ensure your guests stay satisfied with the product offered at your location. Speaking of which, OCS operators can also enhance your space with custom branding, as Fabian covered in his overview of vending. And one last thing to note is that commercial brewers manufactured for high volume environments are essentially what convenience services operators work with too. To give you an example, earlier this year, a high volume bean to cup brewery even premiered. It had all the bells and whistles you would expect from a bean to cup machine, and it also had a reserve of freshly brewed coffee ready to minimize wait times. And bean to cup is certainly popular, but they're not the only type of brewer available. Batch brewers, which you've likely seen before, can also do the trick for high volumes of guests. Fabian, what else should our audience know about the OCS channel?
Yeah, Eric, I think you touched on one of the key ones, to have a dedicated operator to make sure that these machines are up and running and serviced properly and whatnot. That's so key, because the last thing you want is a consumer to walk in and there are these machines and they get excited about it, but then they're broken or there's an issue or it's not working properly. So to have a partner to come alongside you and make sure that these machines are working right and are available, that is going to be incredible. That's going to be key, right? You know, the things, as Eric mentioned, the bean to cup machines, for example, while it's not the only thing we offer, they are indeed incredibly popular. But because, as Eric mentioned, they're very finicky, making sure that someone stays on that. And we also come in and help train your staff for minor, you know, adjustments or upkeep to make sure that they're running properly. So that's one key component. Another key component is the fact that the spectrum of types of coffee that you can offer. Here you see just a really small sample, but it shows you the range from your traditional brewer that can go into air pots, and that way the coffee's ready to go. You have several flavors set up, all the way from pods that are individual pods, whether it's Nespresso or Flavia or Nuco. Those are some of the manufacturers. Your bean to cup machines that he just mentioned. Another super popular, especially in hotter environments like Texas, where I'm located, is the cold brew. Having cold brew available on tap, where you just walk up and get yourself some cold brew, or even the nitro cold brew, which is that nitrogen infused coffee that gives it sort of a Guinness beer, but in a coffee. So it's nice and velvety, super popular. So to be able to offer that, and it gives you another price point, another item, another SKU to sell, those are super popular. And then your specialty items, which are the more espresso based machines. The variety that you can provide your team, and we don't, I say your team, your consumers, we don't assume that it's just a one-stop shop, right? We want to come in and partner with you individually to say, okay, what's your audience like? What do you see? What do they like? And then we'll share our insights with you to say, based on all those different factors, here's our recommendation, and here's how we would price it and how we would, you know, set it up. And we work individually with every single one of our clients to tailor it to make sure that it fits your needs. I'll continue on with water. So, you know, Eric mentioned as well that coffee isn't just coffee. Well, I'll say this before I move on to water. At Sodexo, We serve quite literally 20 million cups of coffee a day globally. That's with our Sodexo brand and the InReach brand. So we know a little bit about coffee. But the other thing that's become incredibly popular is our water services. Water isn't just water anymore, just like coffee isn't just coffee anymore. If you walk into any retailer, any grocer, even at your own locations, look at the different sparkling water options and all the different flavor options that are available. All the hints, all the the Waterloos. I mean, I could go on and on about the different brands and the different flavors and the different combinations of water. We have machines now, and what you're looking at here on the screen is a bevy machine. That's one example where you can offer flavored water, you can offer still, sparkling, you can offer a combination of flavors. They have enhancements as well, like electrolytes, for example. To have these type of a bank of machines set up to where not only do you have your traditional soft drinks and then your coffee, but to also have that type of variety with water is just one more thing that you're providing, one more bit of variety that you're providing your consumers that makes it a pleasant experience. I know for me, while I do enjoy the occasional soda, I love my water. And so I don't know if you saw me drinking it. I have my grapefruit topo on my desk all the time. And so if I were to walk into a place where I could get something like that, at a machine and get myself whatever size cup I want, I'd love it. So just another example of the variety of items that you can provide your consumers. Eric, back to you.
Thank you very much. And next we have pantry services. And these are subsidized programs like traditional office coffee services, except with an expanded product selection. Typically, they have healthier foods because this helps justify the use of pantry services at a location. For example, an office promoting workplace well-being may subsidize pantry services that could include fresh fruit, for example, but it may be harder to justify this for a service offering more candy. Truck stops and travel centers may want to prioritize other channels of service, but we're detailing it so you're aware of what's out there and what makes up the convenience services industry. And if this is right for your operation, then we of course will not stop you from exploring these options. Off the top of my head, pantry services would be most relevant if you have a larger truck stop or travel center and you want to provide it for your own employees. And that's something to note about convenience services in general. These services can enhance your environment for your guests, as we've been discussing, and also your own workforce. Fabian, anything you want to add with regard to pantry services?
Yeah, absolutely. So you shared a little bit about it just now, that obviously our kind of primary focus here is for your guests who come in, because we're all here to help drive revenue. But when you have this type of service, for example, or what we've already discussed, it's available to your team as well. And so pantries are a great way to just add that elevated employee experience. I'll give you an example. With organizations we work with, and this is based on a SHRM study in 2022, 83% of businesses offer free coffee. So to offer free coffee to your employees, if that's not a leading edge component of an employee appreciation program. We see the front runners now, they're offering another element as well, which might be some type of snack. Eric mentioned fruit. That's another great example. So that if you can have this type of service, maybe in your own break room or the employee area, it's a great way to appreciate your team. And if you appreciate your team and they're more engaged, then they're more likely to stay. That lowers increases retention, I should say. All that drives the bottom line. So having a more productive and more engaged employee, because you're finding ways to appreciate them and encourage them, a pantry is a great way to do that.
Thank you. So next we have micro markets. And in layman's terms, micro markets are essentially small unattended convenience stores that may fit into an existing space. They're merchandised in a similar manner and just with an unattended checkout station instead of a clerk. And this is what's called monitored unattended retail. It's not rigidly controlled like a vending machine, but it's still transactional, unlike the open OCS and pantry environments. Micro markets can be used in publicly accessible environments, but mostly they're in buildings with locked doors. Just walk out stores are becoming more available now too, Essentially, those are installations that operate like an Amazon Go, for example, but at a smaller scale, so they could fit into an existing environment. You swipe your card on entry, you grab your items and pay automatically when exiting without having to go through a traditional manual checkout process, increasing the speed and efficiency for your guests. Just walk out stores are currently still pretty uncommon because they're big investments for convenience services operators, but they may be worth discussing if you operate a truck stop or travel center with especially high traffic. Likely the most suitable solution for a truck stop or travel center is a mixed environment. Mixed environments are very loosely defined, but in short, an attendant is present but dedicates their time to tasks requiring human labor instead of the automated checkout processes we've discussed. And we've gone over a few examples of mixed environments already, such as a traditional C-store environment, but with vending included as an alternative to behind-the-counter transactions, or having an OCS operator supply hot beverage products and equipment while also servicing them. Fabian, is there anything we should add with regard to micro markets, just walk out stores, and mixed environments?
Yeah, I think you covered it well, Eric. One thing that I would say is that in these, let me go back to the previous slide. You'll notice here this kiosk. You probably, in traveling, you probably have seen these at airports as well. Sometimes they're attended, sometimes they're unattended, but there is the ability to download an app that you use, and in doing so, it makes it incredibly convenient. There are frequent shopper components to it, incentives that are on there, but you literally can walk up and it's a touchless payment. You grab what you want, scan it at the kiosk, pull your app out, or pay the other traditional ways via a credit card or using, Apple Pay. So the specific environment for micro markets, as Eric mentioned, it would be on kind of a per case basis, but we would work with you to see if that makes sense. One thing that could make a whole lot of sense, as he mentioned, was the kind of grab and go component. So we partner with an organization or with a company called i5. We've launched several of these markets. One of them is at the University of Colorado, and you literally have the ability to walk in, grab whatever you want, and then walk out, and it's automatically charged. It's done with incredible camera technology and tied into the app and your specific ID as you go in and scan and walk in. It's a great way to have that fully automated setup to where it doesn't require that full-time staff sitting there. You're going to have staff there anyway, just to kind of help monitor. But for the most part, it is hands off and a great way to have that fully automated shop at your location. Again, it is a little bit pricier. It's a pricier option because there is investment on the front end to get it launched and running. However, if your specific site has the volume of traffic and if you have the space to do it, it might be a good option for you. The last thing that I wanted to share before we transition is kind of just that 30,000 foot view of our organization, and here it is in a map. I think we're going to share these slides later. You'll have this in there, but just to give you an idea, here's kind of a high level view of the different things that specifically at InReach that we offer. So I'll pass it back over to you, Eric.
All right, thank you very much. And one quick thing to note is that according to Automatic Merchandiser's State of the Industry report for vending and micro markets, most convenience services operators are full service operators. That's to say they operate in many of the different channels we just discussed. But there are some that specialize in just one channel, and you'll just need to see what's best for your location as you explore options. So we went over the most popular channels of service, and you may be thinking to yourself, okay, this sounds pretty cool, but what's preventing me from just buying the equipment that was just described and operating it myself? Well, I'll put it this way. I know HTML, and WordPress isn't rocket science, but my company still uses a web designer because they have a better grasp on the design flow and software that I might not even think to incorporate if I was doing that kind of thing. Likewise, convenience services operators specialize in their craft and can increase your efficiencies because of this, whereas maintaining this technology and servicing these installations yourself or having an attendant do it may have the opposite effect. And before we go into detail, let's just briefly review what a convenience services operator actually does, both at its client site and behind the scenes. To summarize at a very high level, after a coffee station or vending machine or micro market is installed at a client site, An operator restocks the machine or service stations and performs any necessary maintenance to ensure things remain up and running as they should. And if they're not running as they should, the operator does the work to get them back up and running. And behind the scenes, an operator orders new product. It remotely monitors machines for troubleshooting issues. And this could be anything from a dysfunctional payment point to a machine that's not online, to a filtration issue with a brewer, to a safety issue with food temperature, etc. And they dispatch a service technician to handle any of the wide variety of issues that could arise. They also remotely monitor a product left in a machine or market so their warehouse can pick the appropriate amount to refill, and they'll prepare that for the route driver when they visit your business. Fabian, before we go into the general applications to truck stops and travel centers, is there anything that I'm not emphasizing enough in this overview of day-to-day operations?
Yeah, I think you've covered it well. I think one thing to talk about is the technology side, and we've talked about it with all the different channels, but it cannot be overstated. The technology investment that our organization does, and many other operators as well, that we put in there, it is all to help make sure that your program runs smoothly. It's one thing to show you kind of the shiny new toy, and then to go and install it and then walk away. That's not going to work. That's not how we work. We want to make sure that we're, in training your staff and making sure that you're aware of the technology that we're using, so that you know how we're going to keep things stocked, how we're going to keep machines running, that we're going to make sure that the scheduling of when we visit and restock and those kind of day-to-day services, that we are on top of it, and that we always have our thumb on the pulse of the program and what's running. So that's the back end side. On the shopper side, same thing. We want to make sure that it's incredibly easy and convenient, and something that provides just a better in-store experience for your consumers. So everything that we do, we're always looking at what technology is there that we can bring to the table and help improve that experience. The second component of working with an operator is having a dedicated customer service center. So at InReach, for example, we have a dedicated phone number, a dedicated email. Anything pops up, you call that number, you send that email, it automatically gets routed to the right folks, and then we jump on it. It's literally 24/7, 365 days a year. We always have people running and ready to come and service whatever issue you have. That's going to be key. You, as an operator, as a truck stop operator, your staff has other tasks and other things they're trying to take care of, and repairing a coffee machine or working on a freezer that's all of a sudden dropped in temperature. Those types of items, that's not, you have other things to take care of that's going to keep the overall center running. We have a dedicated staff that's going to make sure that those things are running properly. So two key things: technology and customer service are two of the key benefits of working with an independent operator.
Thank you very much. So to get more into general use cases for convenience services, now that we have some foundational knowledge on what makes up the industry, one of the most pressing issues addressed by convenience services is labor availability. And I understand that this kind of thing has affected many industries, including truck stops and travel centers. So unattended retail can run 24 hours a day as long as the location remains open. Your audience works at all times of the day and the night, and convenience services would ensure you remain working for your audience, even in situations when you're short-staffed. And as we discussed when we covered vending, curbing these labor shortages doesn't just help with product availability, but also the speed of transactions themselves. For example, as covered earlier, vending machines can significantly speed up the checkout process of items that need to remain secured, while your attendant uses their time more efficiently. Remember, speed is the #1 reason to use unattended retail, according to that study referenced earlier. Another reason why you would want to partner with an operator for your truck stop or travel center is because the technology mastered by the convenience services industry could increase efficiency. So according to Automatic Merchandiser's State of the Industry report for vending and micro markets, nearly 80% of operators embrace technology for their vending machines and micro markets, streamlining operations with a vending management system and remote data collection. And this is essentially how they stay on top of their equipment and installations when they're unattended. Efficient technology use is ingrained in the convenience services industry. It pioneered the Internet of Things back in the 90s, thanks to the data exchange and VDI standards, which essentially allow the different types of software used in the industry to talk to each other. And this is what enables convenience services operators to know what would need to be restocked at your location before they visit, or if there's something wrong with the machinery there. An alert is raised so they would know what the issue is and they could come prepared to address it. And this way, your attendant can continue their day-to-day work at your truck stop or travel center without having to spend more time ordering or figuring out the technology outside of their realm of experience. Because remember, these convenience services operators are running a business too. So if a machine or brewer can't do its job for whatever reason, not only do they want to avoid a bad look for their business, but also potential revenue is being leaked in these situations. So they would want to address it with quickness. Anecdotally, we're told that the number one complaint consumers have about, vending machines and micro markets isn't the machine doesn't have my product, it's the machine won't take my payments. And I want to bring this up because now cashless payments are pretty commonly featured in convenience services, be it card payments, digital wallets, etc. And I don't know the breakdown of the most used payment types at truck stops and travel centers, but your convenience services operator should be equipped to match the types of payments it accepts to what your guests would expect from your location. So to reiterate, convenience services operators specialize in their craft, so truck stop or travel center operators don't need to dedicate the extra labor time to this. As we just covered, they service, troubleshoot, and maintain their own equipment. And this is a big deal because it's hard to find service technicians specializing in vending machines and coffee brewers. And convenience services operators order the product and know how much to supply thanks to their vending management systems, which is another task that's taken off the shoulders of a truck stop or travel center operator. You may be thinking now, what makes product ordering different for them in comparison to stuff I do myself? Well, convenience services operators can order access bulk orders suited to restocking many high volume locations. Tied to this, it's worth mentioning that vending machines are a lot more dense in the product they can hold in comparison to a dry goods rack, which is a nice tip if you're short on space in your location. Plus, it should be noted that some items have to be packaged specifically for vending machines, which operators can order. This topic is the specialty of our government affairs department, but for legal reasons, some information must be on the front of a package of products sold in a vending machine. So in some cases, product suppliers have to provide product that's packaged specifically for vending machines. Lastly, convenience services operators come with the professionalism you would want for last foot delivery. Companies like Amazon can have the last mile, but leaving something at a doorstep is very different than getting into a private building, then into a room with a vending machine or micro market or coffee station and restocking the product and equipment. And the software exists for operators to know peak traffic times, so they would know they would know better than to serve a location when a lot of guests may be using it at that time. And real quick, there are two more notable distinctions about convenience services that we'll cover. Equipment like brewers or vending machines are very customizable. Operators can get reps made for their equipment, and many have screens that can be customized too, as we kind of went over earlier. And they can be branded according to your truck stop or travel center's environments, or to promote sales or popular local products as well. Promoting local products is mainly tied to coffee, as mentioned earlier. And again, convenience services is traditionally used for food, but can sell just about anything important to your audience, from handheld technology to pharmaceuticals, etc. So we just spent quite some time discussing the different ways convenience services operators can increase efficiency in a truck stop or travel center. But what are the next steps if these partnerships are of interest to you? Firstly, if you already use a convenience services operator, you can contact them about deepening your business relationship. Talk to them about the variety of ways we covered in which convenience services operator can make your business more efficient at serving its guests, such as strategically using their services for faster checkout, or increasing the availability of your product so your guests could still get service when you're short-staffed. And if you currently aren't partnering with a convenience services operator, NAMA is happy to be a resource. NAMA represents the entire convenience services industry across the nation, so we can't endorse one company over another. However, on request, we're happy to provide a list of members who operate in your state. You may contact members at namadow.org with this info, and my info would also be on the last slide as well, should you need me for anything. And if you currently aren't using a convenience services operator also, this is a bit of a self-plug, but it's useful. Come to the NAMA show. Next slide, please. This is NAMA's trade show for the entire convenience services industry, which is attended by over 4,000 professionals. This trade show includes Imagination Way, which is a series of fully functioning prototype environments that demonstrate how consumer interactions with self-service are shifting and how you could position your business to provide new and rewarding experiences where people live, work, and play. And we've also had the pleasure of hosting some NATSO staff at the NAMA show before, and even featured Darren Schulte at one of our educational sessions earlier this year. And you're welcome to come check it out next year in Dallas, Texas on May 7th through 9th. Next slide, please. We certainly hope you found this information valuable, and now we'll open it up to audience questions. And while questions are being typed, Fabian, do you have any general final thoughts you would want to share with truck stops and travel center operators about the applications of convenience services to their audience in this industry?
Yeah, I think one of the main things that I like to leave people with is just the idea of how would you want, when you ask yourself, or whenever you walk in, you're out there traveling, you're working, you're delivering, you're doing those things, what do you want available when you show up? What would make a difference? What would wow you or surprise you, or just make you feel taken care of, and that truck stop center was thinking about you? Put yourself in their shoes and then decide, okay, what would I want? And then let that drive what type of experience you're providing to your consumer. As I mentioned, I mean, we live in a day and age of everything being customized and craft, and I mean, it's out there. It's ubiquitous that everybody wants to have something unique to them. What's no different in your centers or in individual stores. So whatever you can do to help enhance that transaction or that day-to-day experience, that's worth thinking about. It is something that people will take with them. It's something that it's talked about. I mean, there's a certain brand and a certain chain here in the Texas area that keeps getting talked about because of the level of customer service and the setup of their individual stores, that that means something. It's going to help drive more business. So I highly recommend that you take a look at that and that you ask yourself, how would I want my day-to-day interaction to be, and how can you use these types of services to get there?
Thank you. And we have a few questions in the chat right now. The first one I can answer. Will we get a copy of the presentation and link to the recording? Yeah, I could pass that over to Amy, and anyone interesting could access these slides.
Yep, absolutely.
And,
usually we send out a blast to everybody, so we'll make sure they can get a copy of everything, probably later in the week.
Excellent.
Mhm.
And Fabian, as the operator, I will let you lead any of the remaining incoming questions.
Yeah, so let's see here. Do you feel that automated retail is well suited for truck stop and travel centers? Yeah, depending on the type of service, the type of products that you want to offer that you're not already offering, if you can bring in another element, whether it's in this case, maybe having those the technology type products that you don't necessarily want sitting out on a shelf, that would be one good application. But it really ultimately depends on what it is that you're wanting to offer your consumer. The next question: how much sales does an automated retail unit vending do I need to generate monthly to see an ROI if I purchase the equipment, say 2 of the smart vending? So on that, it ultimately depends on the volume that we anticipate based on the traffic that you're going to get there. But based on our knowledge and what we know, hitting minimums at a truck stop center, we're not going to have an issue. I think you move enough traffic through there that we're gonna be fine. Next question. Let's see. So Darren says, I noticed during the European study tours that travel center operators had both traditional coffee programs along with automated coffee vending machines that the customer could simply grab a coffee, pay for, and leave without any human interaction. Additionally, they had food programs such as traditional pastry offerings and automated retail vending pastry offerings. Do you think the dual offerings would work well in truck stops and travel centers here? This goes with the last question that I just mentioned. To give people variety, that's what's key. And so to have the ability to do both, I say yes, absolutely, because you can have your traditional setup and then having these automated machines that provide a different or even a nicer option for somebody who cares about that. Now you're giving them choices. So yeah, my answer is yes to that. And then you said that you own the machines, and as site owners could stock and fix them. If that's the case, what is the expected percentage margin for the sites? So the machines that as far as InReach goes, when we partner with our clients, we bring in machines, and depending on the type of machine, there may be a monthly lease on it, unless we know there's going to be a set volume of business there and we can justify waiving the lease, then we'll do that. That happens all the time. So it really just depends on the cost of the machine. So we ultimately provide that, and to our customers, you're not paying for the machine, but there may be a lease depending on the cost of the machine itself and depending on the length of the agreement. So our agreement length as well, it's not a real easy question to answer because it really depends on each individual scenario. At InReach, our agreements are typically 3 to 5 years minimum. So that's where it starts, if that helps at all.
Yeah, and I would also tack on, operators typically handle the process of stocking the machines themselves. They usually want to ask the I should say convenience services operators. I know there's we both call our respective core members operators, so there might be a little confusion with the jargon, but convenience services operators typically fill their own machines that they provide. So it would be it would depend on the situation, but it wouldn't be too typical that a truck stop or travel center operator would be asked to stock the machines themselves.
And Eric, I'll add to that, Eric, because there's some great anecdotal examples where that has happened at some of our client sites where an employee on site sees a machine and it's got something's beeping, something needs to be serviced, and they go, I can do this, and they dive in there and start messing with it. They don't have the years, or they don't have the hours and the years of training that our staff does. We bench test the machines, and our staff has to be so trained on them to make sure they know all the little nuances. One of your individual staff that's going to go in there that doesn't know the machine or maybe knows basics of the machine might create a worse problem by going in there to try to service it. So that is why our customer service is so key and why we beat our chest about that, because we are literally 24/7 ready to go to take care of these types of problems. We know that you don't want the machine down. Neither do we. Eric touched on this before. If a machine's down and it's not operating properly, we're not selling product. We want to move as much product as possible. So it is in our interest to fix the machine for our own revenue, but the same for you, right? To be able to make sure that your staff or your guests are being taken care of. So that's key. So yes, please let us operate it. Let us service it and take care of it, because it'll be a lot smoother if we do.
Thank you very much. All right, I see there aren't any more questions, so I guess all I'll say is thank you very much for joining us, and we really appreciate NATSO for hosting these educational opportunities, and we wish everyone a wonderful day.
We're ready,
Thanks, everyone.
guys.